Alright, welcome to Mr. Nelson's YouTube video over adding and subtracting fractions. Alright, first we're going to look at a fraction. If you look, we have a common denominator already. So if you have a common denominator, you're going to leave that denominator the same. So you leave the denominator the same, so you keep that 5 as your denominator, and all you have to do is add your top two numerators. So 1 plus 4 is 5. Well, in this case, 5 over 5, we know that 5 over 5, if we divide it out, 5 is just 1. Subtract 5, you get 0 out. So we know that this just equals 1. Alright, here we have one with uncommon denominators. So you can see that there's a 5 and there's a 7. You have to think of what is the most common denominator. Well, in this case, it's just 35. Okay? Well, 35 is just 5 times 7. So you can see that if you don't know the most common denominator, the least common denominator, you can always just multiply your denominators to find a common denominator of 35 in this case. So I'm going to rewrite the question, 35 and 35. If I did it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. So how did I get to 35 from 5? Well, I multiplied by 7. On this side, I multiplied by 5 to get to 35. So if I do it on the bottom, I have to do it on the top. So I multiply by, 7 on this side. 7 on this side. So on this one, we've got 7. On this one, we've got 10. Now, we add we look at the denominator and bring it over. We know we need to keep it the same. And we add our top. So we're going to add the top. So 7 plus 10 is 17. Well, 17 over 35 cannot be simplified because there's nothing that can go into 17 and 35. So that's our answer. Okay. Alright, here we have two mixed numbers. Well, we need to do the Texas method. Alright, the Texas method is this. We've got 2 1/5. You do the plus on the top and the multiplication on the bottom. You need to multiply that right there. That kind of looks like Texas if you do that to it. Okay? And so you multiply first. The 2 times 5 is 10. Then we have to add that 1 to it. So 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. And we keep the denominator the same. Now we do it to the second number, right? I'm going to do that up in this corner. So 1 1/6. We do the Texas method. Multiply and add. Okay? So we multiply 1 times 6 is 6 plus the 1 gives you 7/6. Right? We know we have to add these two together. And so we need to find a common denominator again. Okay? So we know that if we can't think of anything, so let's see, what are multiples of 5? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, okay? What are multiples of 6? 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. The least common multiple, or the common denominator, again in this case, is going to be the denominators times each other. So 30, right? How did I get from 5 to that 30? Well, I multiplied by 6 on this one. And so if I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. Again, how did I go from 6 to 30? Well, I multiplied by 5. If I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. So 11 times 6 is 66. 7 times 5 is 12. If you want to, you can even reduce these before you add them together, as long as you have a common denominator. But I wouldn't reduce them. What I would do is I would just add them together. So we get 66 and 12. So if you add 66 and 12, you get 78 over 30. I'm going to move to the next page. 78 over 30. Alright, how do you find this mixed number? Well, 78 is your numerator, so it goes on the inside. 30 is your denominator, so it goes on the outside. Remember, the nerd's inside, the donkey's outside, right? All right, how many times does 30 go into 78? Well, we know it goes 2 times evenly, or not evenly, but it goes in there 2 times at least. And then we subtract, and you get 18 as your remainder, right? Or 18, okay? Once you hit the decimal point, now you have that whole number, and you follow it around, and now we know it is 18/30. So your answer is 2 and 18/30. But you have to simplify. I'm going to simplify on the next page. 2 and 18/30. 2 and 18/30. Alright, so we know we need to simplify. What can go into 18 and 30? Well, we found that least common denominator, right? And if we find that common denominator, we said it was 6, right? Well, I also know that 6 can go into 18, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 6. Divide by 6, divide by 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3. 30 divided by 6 is 5. If you wanted to, we can always use the 2 most common ones. And the 2 most common ones are 2 and 5. Usually you can divide by 2. And a lot of times you can divide by 5. So we're going to do this. And so you end up with an answer of 2 and 3/5. Okay? That is Mr. Nelson's Show Me or YouTube video over adding and subtracting fractions. If you need to go back by and look at that, that's fine. I am hoping you guys do well on your test for this. See you tomorrow.